My name's Chris.
And I'm Yeasty. Kristie.
That's personal. This is the Washing Up Podcast. It's Bread Week, and far more importantly, it's Kristiemas.
It is, and we're coming to you live from a farmhouse, which is why it's all echoey.
Yep, exactly. We were taking shelter after our car broke down.
There was a light on.
There was, and we've sort of now huddled up in the barn with only the podcasting equipment.
Yes.
And access to Foxtel Go. Oh no.
Betsy.
Actually, no, we're staying at a really nice place as part of the Kristiemas festivities. What I will say, though, is one of the nicest things they could have done for me. They've left me a drum and a cymbal, and I'm not joking about this. You're going to hear that all episode. Because who can put me next to a drum and a cymbal and not expect that?
It's a wonderful place. It's got lots of knickknacks in it, including an old-fashioned, like Looney Tunes style-esque, what's it called?
Mortine style gun. Yeah, the old ones, the 1950s. The DDT spray, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like we're about to spray someone with DDT.
I'm just waiting for a cat to run through after a mouse.
This is going to be great. This won't get tiresome at all.
Not
I can assure you that... Why don't we have one of these?
Well, I presume after this adventure we will be having
I've got room in the car. That's all I'm going to say. I have room in the car.
No deposit back. We've just taken the drum.
So anyway, I'm going to leave that alone for now. I will come back to it, but it's so tempting. So obviously we still, this is how much we care about you. It's in the middle of Kristiemas.
Yep. But
And we're here.
It wouldn't be Kristiemas without a podcast in the middle of it all.
Exactly.
So.
I mean, we have to celebrate the joy that is Kristiemas with the best way we know how. Bake Off.
Exactly.
And British is the one we have. So
Here we are.
celebrating
Bready
British
to
Bake
go.
Off. Bready to go. Ooh,
Yeah. Don't you loaf that?
Oh,
Do you loaf me more?
Oh, can we not? You're not getting a drum. No, you're not getting that. You're not getting that.
Okay, all right.
You're not getting that. What I will get you to do though is I will get you on Instagram to look up the washing up. Because I want to go through the drinking game.
Okay.
Because we hit a lot at times.
Yeah. So all those sloshed people now enjoying the Kristiemas.
Yes, there's lots of sloshed people enjoying Kristiemas.
Kristiemas, I'm sure they're saying now.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, here's the Bake Off unofficial drinking game. Hollywood Handshake.
Well, we're going to get to that, but let's just say, apparently, the drought is over. It's no longer illegal. Dancing is not a crime, and neither are Hollywood handshakes.
Noel distracts the baker. I don't know what that impromptu baseball
the juggling
game was. And juggling. But there we are.
Okay.
Bread resembles a body part. Oh.
No, we didn't really get that.
I mean, Fugass always looks like a vagina. And it was...
We'll mention Fugass again because, it's good to see everyone's favourite cinema snack back.
Within 5 seconds, someone reminded us that bread is Paul's specialty bake.
Yes, bread is Paul's specialty. They opened the episode with Noel and Sandy doing that, and then didn't they hit that all the way through the episode?
Now, here's something I think was missing. I saw some tapping of the top of the bread, but no tapping the base of the bread.
Yeah, no. When they did the pull aparts, they turned them over and they were tapping on the bottoms.
I missed that.
And more importantly, when Paul Hollywood spotted the paper on the bottom of the Fugass.
Yes, he tapped that.
He tapped that.
He tapped Henry's base.
Paul loves bread so much. He tapped that.
All your base belong to us.
Indeed they do.
Bread-based puns. If you haven't got enough of them on tonight's episode of The Washing Up, you got a ton of them.
Yeah, look, at this point, you
Flowery baps.
Yep, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute too, because Urban Dictionary and baps. Go on.
Controversial bake?
Nah, actually, no. I would have anticipated the technical being controversial, but I actually think, and we'll come to it, I think they set it out
so it wasn't
beautifully.
Controversial. I'm sure they've listened to me outline what I would have done with the Burger Challenge.
Yeah, I'm sure they've listened to our Burger Challenge episode of Great Australian Bake Off and gone, you know what, they're right.
Hey, Great British Bake Off producers, when you're out there, we're here. We'd like to be there. How about inviting us over with flights, accommodation, all that stuff.
We're really good
to
at
the next one.
We're really good at fixing TV shows.
We'll help you.
For example, I today had my say on the whole MKR fiasco, and isn't that hilarious? For those who don't know, MKR has been bumped off Sunday nights because its ratings so badly that it's killing Channel 7. And my comment was that
Peter Scaife is rolling in his skates. Sorry,
Christopher Scaife.
Christopher Scaife.
Peter Scaife, though.
Peter Scaife is also
that Peter Scaife needs to. That's one of your best renames ever.
Peter Scaife.
Peter Scaife.
He looks like a Peter.
Well, we have an episode title, Peter Scaife. So, more importantly, though, to fix that show, I argued today that the problem with that show is that if you like drama, you're watching Married at First Sight.
Yeah.
Because you don't particularly care about baking. If you like baking,
you're not watching or cooking.
Yeah, or cooking. You're not really interested in the overboard drama. So they killed both audiences.
Yep.
It's stupid. So anyway, look out next year when they relaunch it with, no doubt Matt and
Gary
and alongside Manu.
Yeah, they might even throw George in as
No, they won't throw George in.
You poison a well.
Yeah, once you've poisoned that well, I mean, look, he'll work for nothing because he needs the money. Anyway, let's sort of finish this off. So, innuendos? Yeah, there are a couple.
Bake is deceptively simple.
That was exactly what they said at the start of the technical.
Yep. This is deceptively simple.
Like, it was Prue's first words. This is deceptively simple. I'm like, thanks, Prue.
Like, we just scrounged around. Like, we got some, when we're thinking of this, we went for some things that were generic to bread week, or specific, I should say, to bread week. But then a few that were kind of like, just throw them in.
Yep. And
we hit them all.
And interestingly enough, for the first time this year, I removed matcha.
What did we get?
And look, to be honest with you, at the start, and we're about to talk about what happened at the start with her, but Amelia kind of got what she deserved in the end.
But she used chorizo,
yes,
so she
but
balanced herself.
No. Chorizo does not counterbalance use of matcha.
Wow.
There is a ratio here.
Wow.
And poor use of chorizo.
So your love of chorizo is far less than your hate of matcha.
No, I like well-used chorizo, and she didn't. She wasted it, in effect.
She used a lot of chorizo, which I figure is like, that's how you base whether chorizo is used well or not, is the quantity that is served.
But the quality of what she baked it in. So let's get to that, shall we?
Okay, yes.
So the signature, much like the introduction for this episode, 3 hours. And it's a pull apart, right? They said it was a filled yeast. It's a pull apart, right? They called it. What do they called it? They called it a tear and share loaf.
Yeah, at their I guess they don't have a Brumbies over there. What would they have? Badgers.
Probably.
Like, a chain bakery.
Brambles.
At Brambles over there.
Fetching tickets to Jaxie's. Anyway.
They would have a tear and share rather than a pull apart.
So what I'm going to do is, rather than go through each baker and what they did, I'm going to quickly run down the list of what they made, and then we'll quickly go into
all right,
bits and pieces about each baker.
Steer this boat.
So Amelia had the chorizo.
Kristiemas.
Amelia had the chorizo brunch, tear and share. We'll come back and talk about that in a moment. Alice had baklava. Now,
baklava.
Yeah, baklava to the rest of the world, but
no, baklava.
Baklava or baklava is fine.
Yeah,
but that's not how they pronounced it. Right? Their pronunciation of baklava is possibly.
Baklava?
Yeah, it was baklava.
Baklava.
And baklava. The baklava. And I'm like, the baklava.
I presume that's what's happening when you're watching one of those cyst popping videos.
Now, she argued, by the way, that baklava came...
There's some baklava.
Now, she argued that baklava came from Turkey, or baklava came from Turkey.
Chunky stuff.
She argued that baklava came from Turkey.
Well, maybe.
It might, unlike baklava. But she was, I think so, I'm not quite sure about the location, to which Sandy did reply with, you're a geography teacher.
That's the next unit she's teaching. She hasn't quite finished creating that unit.
Now, David had a cinnamon swirl tear and share, and we'll talk about his discussion with Paul. But I thought David had a weird week. I thought his argument with Paul was interesting. Obviously, he had a really good technical.
Yeah.
But then when we get to his showstopper, massive issues.
Yeah.
Helena had frosted cinnamon and pecan tear and shares.
Mm-hmm.
Henry made a chicken and pesto tear and share. Michael made Caroline Starbread tear and shares, and we'll come back to what he did with that shortly.
Yep.
Now, Michelle, did you know...
What?
Michelle's Welsh.
What?
Yeah, did you know that?
I had no idea. I thought she was a vegan.
Yeah, so nos on gauze, which is what I'm going to call it. It's probably wrong, and I don't really care. Or cheese night, tear and share.
We are the Knights of Cheese.
We're the Knights of Cheese.
Wing me a camembert.
You must chop down the tallest tree in the forest with pecorino. So Phil made pancetta and cheese focaccia, tear and shares, where there was a lot of pancetta on top of his too. I was happy with that. Priya made the smoky jalapeno tear and share. She was talking about the fact that she gets away from the spice of her family, only to now sort of go back towards it. Rosie made a chili and manchego tear and share. The number of people using chili while Prue looked on really worried.
She really is cut from the same cloth as our dear Maggie Beer.
She really is.
Anti-chili cloth.
Exactly. And Steph...
I believe you'll find it in the upholstery section.
It's in the upholstery section. Steph made a sun-dried tomato and pesto one. So Henry was using charcoal inside his, because he decided he wanted that checkerboard pattern, which is so well-renowned for a tear and share. I love my tear and shares in checkerboard. Mm-hmm. Apparently he also likes tall speakers and small speakers, and if there's music, he's wired for sound. It's the only thing either that, or now we're here in Xanadu, because
are we clear?
So much rollerblading.
I was waiting for him to go past a guy who's painting, to kind of inspire him. I thought it was quite funny with Steve Gutenberg. It's not Steve Gutenberg.
No, it's the poor man Steve Gutenberg.
Which is fucking basement bargain. We're talking $2 shop in the middle of St. Mary's.
Yes, poor man Steve Gutenberg in Xanadu. By the way, Gene Kelly's dancing on roller skates. Come on.
How old was he? In his 50s? Pushing 60?
He was in 60s, yeah.
Yeah, that's just fucking amazing.
Dancing. And Gene Kelly was very upset, by the way, with Xanadu, because they cut a lot of the footage of him in long shot to show he was actually on the skates.
Yeah, for me, Xanadu, the best part of Xanadu is the opening, with the muses coming to life and heading out into the world.
So for me, it's the end. It's the long-winded montage at the end with the 15 million different songs.
Well, that's also good.
And the dance number between Gene and Olivia Newton-John, which is the whole reason he did the movie.
Yes.
And he came back and said, let this movie be released if you let me reshoot this scene with her and we'll just do a dance routine together.
Yes. So I'm a bit confused. He's a painter, but also wants to open a roller rink?
Is Henry auditioning for Xanadu?
It'd be like Xanadu 2000. What do we say now? 3000. Xanadu 3000.
No, we still say 2000 because it still sounds futuristic.
I know, but to the young kids, that's like saying Xanadu 1950s.
Well, we're going to get there later on this series, but anyway.
Well, that's 1920.
1920. But he's a weird one.
But wonderfully weird.
That's the thing. When I say weird with Henry, it's delightful. He doesn't quite fit anything that you sort of expect of him.
No, he's a modern... What's that word? It means you're a very cultured person. You're...
He's a bit of a Renaissance man.
Renaissance man?
He's a bit of a Renaissance man.
I think he's more of a postmodern man.
He also shits himself every time there's judging to happen.
I know.
When they did the judging of the technical, for example, I thought he was about to have a heart attack.
He's no Angela from The Office. She's a bandit for judging.
She's a bandit for judging. She likes to be judged.
Yes.
But I thought that Henry was either hoping to be Cliff Richard and Wired for Sound or auditioning for Xanadu or maybe skating past someone singing the score to Starlight Express.
He's doing all three.
Exactly.
He's a postmodern man.
Then again, they cut to Michelle's bench, who reminded everybody that she was Welsh. And they said that she has two interests. It was Welsh food and Welsh rugby.
Her third interest was Welsh rugby players. Her fourth interest was...
Leaks. And interestingly enough, no dragons. And later on, she makes a garden. Everything in our garden. No dragons. Now Michael was making the...
Only if you believe.
Michael was making the...
hard enough. And there weren't enough believers in her dragon last week. We saw what happened. There's not enough belief in that tent for a poor Welsh dragon.
Shun the non-believers, Michelle. Shun. So Michael was making an Indian Carolan bread and using a lot of chili.
But he said he was restraining himself. He was trying to balance it.
That doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't really help. And then Rosie was also using chili. But more importantly, they just started to discuss the fact that she also uses her vet equipment in her home. And they showed like a saline drip running over the top of the stove. I'm like, what the fuck is she doing?
Well,
I mean, I love Rosie, but what the fuck?
Look, I've seen medical equipment used for some nefarious purposes. Not sexually, more kind of like the stuff that you dispense if you're a pharmacist, but the stuff that's not legal.
Well, my aunt went
not by me.
Well, my aunt went to university with Dr. Karl Kristiemas.
Oh, didn't you?
And
I went to university with Virginia Gay.
Anyway, he went.
Ed
She went to university with Karl Kristiemas, and the more fun part about going to university with Karl was apparently his booze that he would bring to parties was out of this world amazing.
He made it himself. Of course he did. Just has a still in the bathtub.
Fuck yeah.
Julep, I believe.
Now, poor Henry though. I mean, look, he's obviously lived a little bit of a sheltered life because he decided at that point to make Noel juggle. But then he seemed surprised that Noel could juggle.
Noel's like, I'm a comedian. I have to juggle.
But it's also Noel Fielding.
Yeah.
If there's anybody I'm going to expect to juggle,
yeah,
Noel Fielding.
What do you reckon would be a harder task for him? Juggling on a unicycle or juggling riding backwards on a horse?
Backwards on a horse.
You think?
I think he's had a lot of practice on the unicycle.
All right. More practice than accessibility to horses.
It's very hard to get accessibility, A, to the horse, and B, a horse that can go, like, in terms of, like, him going backwards on the horse.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot.
Do you have to put the saddle on backwards then? Like, how does that work?
I don't know. I was doing that thing the other day online, which was at a point for everything you haven't done. It was like, the idea was you should have, like, less points. And I looked at the horse one and got confused because, you see, I haven't ridden a horse.
Have you?
I have attempted to get on a horse.
What?
I fell off it. So we've mentioned this before. This was the friends of the family who had the bike. And when I got on the bike and they were holding the brake and the accelerator, and as I got on the bike for the first time, the motorbike, they let go of the brake with my hand on the accelerator.
What?
And put me through the side of a bird cage.
Oh,
so this was
okay.
them. And I went to get on, they had property at one point and a horse.
You
and
didn't end up with like a kick in the head from the horse as well.
Yeah, so I went to get on the horse and it took me like 8 different goes and I sort of fell out the side of the saddle and we went, that's it. Anyway, now Phil...
Tighten the girth.
Phil was making a bake based on his heritage.
Yes.
Essex.
It's the only way.
Or Italy, one or the other.
It was bejazzled.
It was really fascinating for a guy who lives in Essex with no real Italian heritage. He was very Italian this week, wasn't Phil?
He was.
Like,
grazie.
There was so much Italian coming out of Phil.
Bene.
Like traditional Essex values right there. Now, we had Steph and Henry in the corner, which was called Pesto Corner. Now, Steph was talking up the idea of her own special basil sauce. It just looked like pesto to me.
Look, I love people when they've gone, I've got my own recipe for X, Y, and Z. And essentially you find out it's the same recipe everyone's got with maybe some pine nuts or maybe a little extra garlic or maybe, I don't know, a splash of vodka thrown in.
Yeah, the extra ingredient is love and gin.
Mine usually is bitterness.
The tears of my enemies.
This is regret.
Yeah.
Infuse this with
This
regret.
bread is full of melancholy. Anyway, and the infinite sadness. Anyway, 90s reference for you all there at home. 90s reference. Anyway, Priya. Priya admits that hers is basically close to pizza. But she's like, but what's the problem with that? Who doesn't like pizza? I like pizza. Everyone likes pizza. Who doesn't like pizza? I like pizza.
It's going to be more of a calzone because it's rolled up.
Yeah, well, she had the 2 different layers on top of it. So it was like a sort of a calzone, sort of just like 2 pizzas smushed on top of each other. It's just like 2 pizzas.
Panini pizza.
It was just like 2 pizzas pressed on top of each other, really.
Pizza's in the missionary position.
Yes, and she did use jalapeno. She did use jalapeno cheese. Now, Amelia, I did write at this point in time that Amelia using chorizo meant she should have won everything.
Feel like making pizza.
No. No.
Did it?
You don't get... No.
It's Kristiemas. Give me a spoon.
No.
I mean a drumstick.
No. Don't break the fourth wall. Okay. Don't tell them do not tell people how I live.
We got 2 wooden spoons.
They're drumsticks. They're
Okay.
not wooden spoons.
No.
One of them is a salad server. Anyway. So what they did was leave me the drum kit. What they didn't leave me were drumsticks. So, you know.
I reckon, because this place could also fit a family, right? I reckon one day there were drumsticks here, and then after the first family, that were never too. I reckon if we dredge that dam down the back.
The benefit of this episode, by the way, is we don't have to worry about volume because there's no neighbours for miles.
There's a cow like across the river.
And also we're not worried about cats coming and knocking everything over, which is rather unusual. Although, if you're listening at home, cats, go to bed.
Although I saw the memorial for a dog at the front of the door, so I presume there's a ghost dog here.
Probably. I mean, I can't see the ghost dog. I can't see the ghost dog interfering though. He's no Leo. Anyway, so then we had proving versus baking time, and this was the bit of the debate. How long do you leave it to prove? How long do you need it to bake? Do you leave it for the extra proving time and hope the bake works? Very tricky arguments to come up with. Phil had one of my favourite out of context statements, which was, "That's just about the right size for me."
That's what she said.
That is indeed what she said. We also learn a bit more about Michael's internal psyche. Now, he's clearly not just worried about the idea that Paul won't like his bread. He had clearly pondered the ways that Paul was going to destroy his bread for far too long. He's going to go, it's underproved, it's underproved, it's underbaked, it's soft, And he listed about 10 different ways Paul was going to rip it to pieces. And I'm like, dude, you got to get out more. See the world. Now, David. Now, we learnt a few things about David. First of all, we also learnt that David makes pottery. So while obviously Henry is applying for Xanadu, it's all about ghosts for David.
I'd like to see a remake of Ghost with David in it. Like a baking-based one. Like, what does she say? Sam wheat. So like, Sam wheat. I'm going to use some Sam wheat in this bread. Thank you.
Now, he then also said that buttercream was the classic filling for cinnamon rolls. And I thought Paul Hollywood was going to jump over a bench. He looked at him, he goes, what? He goes, buttercream, the traditional filling. And Paul just starts shaking his head going, no, it's not. He's like, yes, it is. And Paul Hollywood is like, no.
It's like that great British tradition of, I don't know, surfing in winter.
100%.
Yeah.
I love it when you see that rare British sort of nut job going down to the beach, or as we call it, Pebbles, and getting into the North Sea.
It's like, yeah, it can happen. I wouldn't call this per se traditional or...
Billy Connolly used to talk about the fact that, the horrible trend of Scottish parents taking children and scarring them about water by throwing them into the North Sea in the middle of winter.
Fuck me.
But going to the beach, lobs them all in the water. It's like, no wonder they're fucking scared of the beach.
Oops, I think we found that Angus has asthma. He doesn't seem to be breathing.
Now, we also found out that Helena...
Yeah.
Quite an interesting move. Now, she's a very interesting person to start with.
I love Helena.
Helena swapped Las Vegas for Leeds.
Well, Viva Leeds.
Not
Viva,
quite.
Viva Leeds.
It's a bit of a different lifestyle between Leeds and Vegas.
Maybe she was sick of living in Las Vegas and not being able to tell anyone what was happening in her life. Like, she had a blog, right?
Yeah.
But she was in Las Vegas. Can't
not allowed to. Law states can't do it.
Unsuccessful bloggers live in Las Vegas.
I mean, look, and it's not, she can make a trip from Leeds to Blackpool, and there's the sort of the light and fun covered. So
at least she moved to Leeds. She's now able to blog about her life successfully.
100%. No one knew where she was. It was horrible. Now, Michael then adopted the traditional bread week pose, sitting in front of the oven. Phil then joined him in that. At which point we cut to Noel, who was wearing a bread braid. Now, Noel Fielding had quite a good episode this week.
He did.
Noel was definitely MVP of the episode. Mm-hmm. He carried a large chunk of it. His interaction with the Bakers was brilliant.
Hit it out of the park.
Sandy wasn't bad, but like Noel was next level brilliant in this episode. It was one of his best episodes.
Yeah.
I was worried about Amelia's when they came out of the oven.
Yeah.
Now, I was really worried about them. For a start, she pushed all of them. You notice that she pushed them all out to the side.
Yeah.
So she wasn't getting the definition on the rolls. Secondly, they were clearly not the same size. Thirdly, the way that she'd spaced them out meant that what they weren't going to sit. And that they didn't look great.
Amelia is a really interesting character because, like, generally when people go on to Bake Off, they have a real passion for it. They've got, maybe some skills that need refining or, building upon.
Yep.
But there's a general kind of, love with it. And she just seems like she wants to love it and she feels like she should love it, but she's very slapdash about it.
What was weird for me today was she was talking it up like, she clearly loves, she's been great the other weeks. And this week was survival. And I don't think she's been great the other week. She's been bad, but she's not been great.
We saw it first in Cake Week when she had not even grand plans, but her two-tiered, what's it called, showstopper.
Yes.
with the merry-go-round or the carousel. And instead of being 2 tiers, it was 1 tier, and it looked kind of thrown together. There wasn't a lot of care to it.
Yes.
And so I'm... on a personal level, I think she's a fantastic person. And I can see some raw potential there, but there's just something going on.
Yeah.
And we'll hear about it when it comes to her scoring of bakes.
We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah.
Now, I love when Noel turned around and talked about Paul and said, Paul is light on his feet. He's got tiny feet. He's like Fred Astaire. One of the best random things I think I've ever heard Noel Fielding say. Now, the judging. I'm baking in the tent. Now, the judging, we'll just sort of quickly hit the highlights and the lowlights.
Kelly.
Yes, I noticed.
Swinging around the tent.
So we'll just quickly hit through the highlights.
Oh, yeah.
They thought that Rosie's was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They thought that Henry's should have tasted amazing, but didn't. They thought that Amelia had size issues and it was basically thrown together. And she nearly killed Prue with the spice in the chorizo. The others had chili in it, and she nearly killed her.
Yeah, Prue's is like, this chorizo in... You just see, like flames shooting out the side
of my face, heaving breath. David's was too doughy. I did love the fact that Michelle called her own bake rustic. But let's get to the most important one of all, which was...
like, it's not very... it's a bit messy. And she's like, oh, I call it rustic.
The most important bake of all was Michael. Michael did something that we didn't think was humanly possible. Michael gets the first Hollywood handshake.
Yeah, I was starting to think that maybe Paul has put this on the back burner.
I thought there'd been a ruling.
He's like... But honestly, Michael's pull apart was beautiful to look at. And you can see it was beautifully baked, nice and crispy. And then when they flipped it over, it was symmetric. You could have served it upside down.
And it would have been perfect.
And it still would have looked pretty.
Now, it was also at this point that I realised something, that when she's not mentioning Wales...
Yep.
I was mixing Michelle and Steph up. And I have to admit this, because it slowed down my note-taking significantly. Because I kept on having to do a triple take and go, is that Michelle or is that Steph? And I'd wait until I'd hear the word Wales and then go, okay, that's Michelle.
Okay, that's Michelle.
But that took a bit. Now let's get to the technical.
Yeah.
And the technical is Burger Baps. Now, the Picture magazine in late 1990s called...
Boobies are better at Burger Baps.
Yep. So, again, in Australia, in the more bogan areas of Australia, and, again, the Picture magazine in particular was a big bandit for this one. They also were a bandit for the word smoo, and we've talked about that before. That's horrible. But they use the word baps a lot for boobs. So Burger Baps has a bit of a different meaning
I think they also have that in
I
England.
know they do have it. I mean, the two Ronnies used to use the word baps a lot. But, like, the fact that nobody went there and everyone was very polite.
No, Noel did. Noel went up to Henry talking about baps, and he didn't think he was much of a bap guy.
Yeah, but I don't think Henry
No,
understood.
Bapman.
Okay, that's the name of the episode. So, forget the other one, Bapman. So, I look, I don't think he's necessarily much of a Bapman either, but what I would say is that I also don't know how much of what Noel was saying Henry could pick up. I don't know if Henry could pick up what Noel was laying down.
It's like the references are far too...
Vague.
Antiquated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, when there's not a lot to go through in this challenge, but what there is to go through is really important because what they did with this challenge was something they did not do in the Great Australian Bake Off when they did burgers.
Yeah.
And it's something we got right on them about in that episode.
Again, Great British Bake Off, if you're listening. You know,
I think they're definitely listening.
we're here.
So what they did in British Bake Off this year
I'm all
was...
for business class.
For the burgers, they talked about the idea that 90% of the judging for this challenge was the bake of the bread. Mm-hmm. They said the burger matters to some degree,
Yeah.
but 90% of what we're judging is going to be the bun.
And I know some people say, well, why bother making the burger to go in it? But as we saw, the burger was instrumental to showing whether or not it was, like, the bun was able, or the bap, I should say, was able, it was a bap, to hold the burger in place.
And what they did was they got them to do 4 and 4.
Yep.
4 as burgers and 4 with just the rolls.
Yep.
So they wanted to see the roll itself, and then they wanted to see how they did it as a ratio of bun to burger, which got Amelia in a world of trouble. 10%. 10% if you dough over and you're fine. No, you're really not because the burger's 4 mile wide.
Amelia, it's not a Cleven.
No,
it's not going to get you home by 7.
Not a Cleven. Now, Henry was talking to Noel and Henry suggested about wholemeal bread. And I loved Noel's term about wholemeal. It's a bread? I'm just going to once again clarify. We love you, Noel. Like, stand up for bread and go, no, wholemeal is not bread. Won't accept it. You're not agreeing with me.
No.
Why not?
I think there is a place for wholemeal.
It's nowhere near a table.
Well, not your table.
No.
Like, I really, like, at the moment, because it's Kristiemas, my path in life at the moment is letting go of old grudges, you know, like, just letting go of the bullies from school and all that bullshit that I've carried with me. And I really feel, my love, that you should also be embracing this course and maybe offer some forgiveness to things like matcha and, like, wholemeal bread.
What a joke, ladies and gentlemen. What a joke that I should be kind to matcha and wholemeal bread. That's a great joke, Kristie. Well done. Pure Kristiemas at its best. Anyway, moving on.
Fuck me. Christ almighty.
At this point, we cut to Noel beating out Morse code on his own head.
Yes.
On Sandy's head. Followed by Sandy going, that feels really good. Followed by another cutback with Sandy and Noel with bowls on their head. Clearly just having the time of their lives, hitting each other in the head with a spoon going, oh, that is fun. You can almost imagine the production team going, guys, we've got an episode to...
I'd like to think, right, that in the audience of the Great British Bake Off, Noel Fielding and Sandy Togsvig's, you know, like year 3 or year 8 geography or maths or English teachers who are always like, you know, goofing around in class is not going to lead you anywhere.
I can't help but feel that Noel Fielding's teachers have all said that to him in his life.
Yes.
And have all gone, well, shows what we know. So we also got, Steph had one of the greatest, like, one-word responses to anything I've ever seen. When they've got to the part where they've got to work out the size of the burgers and the size of the buns, and Steph looks and just sighs deeply and goes, maths.
Steph, you really are embracing the spirit of Kristiemas.
She was really embracing the spirit of Kristiemas. Henry then had one of the best lines of the night. where he goes, "I'll cook them until they're brown, but they're purple." So it's really hard to tell. Because of course the burgers they were making were vegetarian burgers.
Yes.
Right? They weren't making meat burgers, they were making vegetarian burgers.
Oh, they looked pretty cool, like whizzing up some black beans and black-eyed peas. Just a bit of Fergie.
That gets stuck in your teeth. You don't want that.
But you know what it tastes like?
Just
Fergalicious. Hold on.
Yeah, okay, hang on. Do it again.
Properly.
Do it again. Ready?
And it tastes like?
What does it taste like, Kristie?
Fergalicious. Thank you.
There you go. I think we need to keep this. I really do. Now we need to talk something which you are an expert at.
Yes, I am.
Okay,
what are we talking about?
The order of burger stacking.
Oh my god, okay.
Now remember, this was viral on the internet when they were worried about the emoji for a burger.
Yes.
Because people went nuts going, that emoji's in the wrong order. Look, Kristie, what is the correct order of stacking a burger?
Okay, look, there is a little bit of wiggle room, okay? But what you have to keep in mind is there enough friction to hold this shit together? So what you want to be doing is looking at your flat, sticky stuff down the bottoms first. Now, personally...
You said flat, sticky stuff.
Down the bottom first. That's what she said. Okay, so personally, I like a little bit of sauce on my buns. All right, before I put the meat on them. But that's a personal choice. You don't have to do that. But I do recommend meat first, all right? Because otherwise, what are you doing here? Now, one of the tricks would be to pop your onions on, because your onions, those little fuckers will make shit slide off like it's going out of fashion. But if you put the onions on the meat and melt the cheese onto the onions, you are effectively cheese tacking down those onions.
Now, let's quickly talk tomato. Because I have a philosophy on tomato, which I've explained to you before. Mm-hmm. I have a big problem with tomato on a burger.
Okay, you don't need to put tomato. I know, because it.
So the problem that I have with tomato on a burger is, remember the Simpsons episode where the little Lisa slush company, where Mr. Burns works out that if he gets all those plastic rings, he can sweep the ocean clean.
Yes.
Yeah, tomato is the equivalent of that on a burger. So what happens is, because of the little gaps in the tomato, it hooks into things, and when you bite the tomato, pulls everything off your burger.
I hear what you're saying, but what I want to counter that with is, okay, so you've melted your cheese onto the onions, which has created this kind of like slightly sticky, irregular surface, right?
For those people who don't say we get into deep issues, listen to this.
I know. If you think I don't take shit seriously in life, this is good listening. So then you put your tomato on that. Why? Irregular surface, kind of holding it up, a bit sticky, so you're losing a lot of that slippage. Now then you pop your lettuce on top, if you're a lettuce person. Unfortunately, my bowels don't like it too much, but I'll do it anyway. Lettuce on top. If you're going to do pickles or anything like that, I say extra sauce on your top bun, because that kind of helps to try and stick that lettuce to something, because this is the most precarious element to your burger now, is this lettuce.
I highly recommend it at home if you're listening to this. Make a Kristie burger and then tweet us and tell us if it worked. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm intrigued.
Now, this same method can be applied to steak sandwiches as well, my faves. I just feel that we need to be embracing more. I mean, if you like really saucy burgers, throw your sauce in with your onions that you're going to stick your cheese under, because then again, you're reducing the lubrication there. That's Kristie Burgers 101.
So,
2, 3, 4, and 20.
So, Steph's were a bit chewy. All the buns that looked the same. They said the spice wasn't too bad on the burger. Mm-hmm. Helena's broke a bit. Nice flavour. The burger was really nice. Rosie's were massive, but didn't really have a lot of flavour.
Yeah,
and the
Rosie had massive baps.
Yeah, and unfortunately her dough sucked.
It did.
Phil's were not good, and they were very uneven.
Unfortunately, Amelia's baps were small.
Alice's were underproved and too big.
That's just making your baps a bit too squishy.
Now, this is the thing that saved David.
And when you got big baps and they're a bit underproved, they're very heavy.
Yep. David was saved by the fact that his were a nice size, and had good flavour.
Yes.
Amelia, they were quite tight and doughy, underproved, too big, lots of chilli.
Now,
But beyond that, it was fine.
Oh, there was an innuendo in here. It was David saying that he likes his buns pert.
Indeed. Michelle's went a bad bake. Michael's had nice flavour, but were a bit tough. Priya's were nice, and Henry, right shape, and that was when Henry nearly fell off the chair with a stroke.
You had good baps, Henry. I know you're not a Bapman.
Now the showstopper. The showstopper was a scored loaf. Now, I originally, when I saw this, went, I don't know about this. So what I did was, what I normally do when I'm not quite sure if something is actually tricky enough, I contact Baker Extraordinaire, friend of the podcast, friend of the show, friend of everybody, Robert Harwood.
He really is the friend's friend, isn't he?
And I asked him, here's your friend on the front. And I asked him about, was this actually quite good? And I said, so for me, I'm worried it feels a bit lame just sort of scoring the top of the bread. Is that a problem?
This is essentially bread sculptures, which we've seen before.
But it was all about the scoring and the patterns. Yeah. And his comment was, it's definitely a challenge to get it perfect. It's a perfect challenge because it leaves so much room for variation and allows for artistic expression.
Yeah.
Also, then, that was followed up on when they were talking to Paul and Prue. And they were stressing, this is actually one of the hardest skills you've got, because when you make that score, if you cut it too deep, the bread splits. And then you get the bread going everywhere and it all pulls apart. If you don't score it deep enough, you don't get a mark on it. And the bread just bounces back. So it's a really difficult thing to get the patterns ingrained to the right level.
It also, like, what I like about this challenge too is it opens up an opportunity for me to mention Grease too, because we can score tonight, rock and roll tonight. Yeah, just saying. They could have done a bit of a dance routine in that, Paul Hollywood light on his feet.
Could they have committed murder? Because that's what the T-Birds do.
Yes, but if the men in Grease 2 are unimportant. It's all about the women. They're the most feminist. Like, look at Sandy versus... I've forgotten Michelle Pfeiffer's name in this. Don't leave me hanging, you prick. Come on.
I'm not going to do it.
Do it.
I'm not going to acknowledge that I've seen Grease 2.
Fuck you. Oh, God. Okay, I'm having a brain fart.
I'm not going to acknowledge that I've seen Grease 2.
She gives no fucks about guys, right? She's like, whatever, this is what I want in a man and everyone else can go fuck themselves. She works at her dad's, hot rod shop, that's not a typical... And she doesn't take shit, she will fight for what she wants. So
Stephanie,
fuck me, why did I forget that? Oh, my God.
Because it's not as important as Grease. Anyway, moving on. So, David... All right.
Oh, sorry, everyone. I'm saying fuck a lot tonight.
Yeah, shit. Stop that.
I really am in a holiday mode.
Wait, holiday mode. Holiday mode. Holiday mode. Anyway,
I know I've told this before, but just for the new listeners, my uncle was in European vacation. Or he's my dad's cousin.
He's Beverly D'Angelo, and...
No, his name's Peter Stamford. Thank you very much. And he was one of the Latvian dancers that were in the slap-up scene.
With the very Latvian name of Stamford. Anyway, so David made a trio of African masks in sourdough. Okay, I know you've been to Africa, David. I know you've done a lot of good work.
You bless the rains down there.
You've done a lot of good work in Africa, David. It's still...
It was a little off to me.
It feels like a problematic thing. I don't know if we're going to get people go, oh, come on, it's just a bake. It feels problematic. I'm not saying it's ultra problematic. It just feels...
You made a choice.
Appropriation
and there's a lot of other choices you could have made.
Yeah, there could have been other ways to represent it.
It's like if I went on there and went, I'm going to do some Aboriginal art because I've been to Australia.
Yes.
It's a bit...
Now, Henry... Henry is a hero.
Henry
is a hero to all of us because he made the great cinema snack of our times.
Oh, Absolutely, Fugasse.
Fugasse. I mean, look, as
popcorn,
Brandon,
you've
as
got
Brandon
Chop Tops
said,
and Fugasse.
as Brandon said on Twitter, I can't see Fugasse and not say it like Tom from season 7.
Yeah.
For anyone who didn't listen to that or didn't watch that series, one of the bakers made Fugasse and said, and no one else knew what Fugasse was, and he went, "Oh yeah, no, it's my cinema snack. I make it and take it to the movies."
As you do.
And everyone looked at him and went, "What?"
Like, if any of us are taking shit to the movies, it's usually when we're younger, we've got fuck all money, and because you want to go to Time Zone and play the games, you know, and also see a movie. This is back in the day where you could take $20 with you and do all this. You'd go to Woolies or something beforehand, the supermarket, and buy your like little like M&Ms and shit to eat in the cinema.
Take your own pick and mix.
Just...
So... I like to think that Alice was using the coriander compass to find turkey from the first challenge. Maybe she went with a heavy geographic theme in this challenge simply because the other bakers and the judges didn't believe she was.
I can't find turkey, but I've got Iberia here.
Is that close?
Her world map is from...
I can find the Ottoman Empire, but I can't... Yeah.
I'd like it if if her map was actually from like a specific period, like you just have the top part of Australia.
Yes.
Connected to New Zealand.
So Priya decided to go tropical, so she made Weekend at flamingos. Sorry, I got caught up in my wishes there. Bernie goes Hawaiian. As Kevin Smith once said when they offered him Bernie goes Hawaiian, didn't we say everything we needed to say with the first couple of movies? Do we really need to go tropical?
But you know how we could round it off, the whole like series of Bernies?
He just decomposed in the corner?
No, Bernie goes to Haiti. And then they just...
Bernie and the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
This crossover movie at the end.
Yeah.
And what we find out that the person who started this zombie virus for the zombie apocalypse in Walking Dead is Bernie.
He gets bitten by, you know those ants that get infected by fungus that like zombifies them? There we go.
And there's Archer just standing there going, that's how you get ants. Look, we've just segued every bit of popular culture. All right.
Felching. Just cause.
Steph was making...
Kristiemas. Have all the things.
You have to. Steph was making what she referred to as subtle flowers. She was toning down the colours, wasn't going deep pinks, and was doing very light pinks.
Much to Annette's, just
Now
I can just imagine Annette going.
If it's a light pink, there's no such thing. Every heavy pinks. Now look, I give Michelle a lot of crap about being Welsh and telling us that she's Welsh. So as much as I love you, I have to do this. Did you know Rosie's a vet?
No idea.
Rosie's a vet.
That's news to me.
They mentioned it a good 17 times in this episode.
Look, I adore Rosie.
I love Rosie. She's fucking amazing. But she's a vet.
Yeah, but there's more to it. Like, she fucking uses a line, an IV line to infuse her bakes. Like, she's not
washed
just
it first.
Just pulls it straight out of a stray cat and into it.
Look, she's been working on the prolapse anus of a greyhound.
She's like,
and then she goes straight into making something in a punt tin.
she's
from prolapse to panettone.
She's there, like helping a constipated cow and go, oh, I've got an idea for brownies.
Once she's expelled anal glands, the moose may begin. So, anyway, Michael had what I refer to as his Kent Brockman moment.
Yeah.
Italian, which was Kuala Lumpur, France. So Helena uttered a sentence which I know made you love her even more. Mm-hmm. Every day is Halloween in my house. Every bake is Halloween in my house.
And she had her own little cauldron to serve it all in.
And Noel had to order her a voice from online.
Yes, she's like, they got a Scottish accent.
That was fantastic. Phil is becoming the master, as I said before, of the quotes out of context. Before it was about size, this time it's you've got to treat it like a lady.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, my Bap's a lady. Oh, no, we're past the Baps now.
Michelle...
He wanted to score with a lady.
Michelle made everything in her garden, but as I said before, sadly, no dragons.
I just wanted to see a little, manure pile.
Now...
Where the cow had been.
Amelia. Look, The concept looked interesting and intriguing, but unfortunately you used matcha, and that disqualifies you from the competition and from life itself in many ways.
It wasn't about the underbaking.
You will never be allowed to bake again.
It was about the lack of flavour.
We are revoking your baking licence for 5 years. This has not been a hard decision at all. In fact, this is just par for the course, and I know that the Twitter community out there is with me. Look, you might be a fantastic baker, you might be a wonderful person, but matcha is matcha, and we have to crack down on matcha, because if we, if we don't crack down on this curse, who will protect the children?
Look,
and I don't want the children of this world.
Okay, I'm doing it. I'm pulling the Kristiemas card. It's Kristiemas. Enough with the matcha bashing. Move on. Next.
I didn't give you a Kristiemas card.
I made them myself. Kristiemas card. Put down. It says 1 free pass to veto anything I like.
Why did you laminate it?
Because I want to reuse it.
But you can only
reuse, and recycle. Next year. Next Kristiemas.
But so let me get this straight. The one thing you're vetoing out of all of Kristiemas is matcha talk.
Yeah, enough of it. You know, people have had to put up with a lot in these past few months, and we're a golden ray of sunshine. We're a golden fucking ray of sunshine, and don't you forget it.
Michael talked about the fact there are lots of don'ts in Paul's instructions, but not many do's.
No, there isn't. It's like the bread is also cursed.
And I wrote down that this was...
You must score the bread. Woohoo! Don't score it too deep.
I wrote down that this was surprisingly engaging, but then followed it up with, and we're now sitting watching the ovens again. Mm-hmm. Now, at this point, Sandy went over to see Amelia for the next part, because they had to bake in batches and then come back and do the next batch. And Amelia turns around to Sandy and goes, "Have you seen my knife anywhere?" And Sandy's like, "Well, you probably shouldn't lose that." And then she's gone, "Oh, I found it." And Sandy goes, "Well, I'm going to go now because you keep on losing razor blades." Amelia also admitted that she thought at this point that her bake was underbaked. David had looked at his bakes and they had all split horrendously.
I've just realised what they're going to be doing for the 1920s week. Fucking razor gangs. They'll be scoring more bread. Slicing things up with razors, just, you know.
Smile out of both sides of his face. Anyway, now we paint. Now, this was the weird part about this week, because I'm like, oh, cool, all the cuts look great. What do? Are they painting the bread? Are they painting that bread? They were painting that bread, folks.
Yeah, you know why? Because Henry had rollerbladed around. Do you believe in magic?
Henry had muses to summon. And the only way he was going to do it was by painting his bread. So the judging. Rosie had great scoring. It was very original. Paul liked the bread. He wanted a little more salt in the grey one, but he also couldn't believe that he was saying that he liked grey bread. Alice, they loved the definition in the compass. The flavours were nice. They needed a bit more seasoning, but the cuts were really good. David, Prue said, well, it looks amazing even with the break, but that's not what the challenge was. The challenge was scoring. Mm-hmm. And it's not well scored. It's not well baked. It had no salt. And then they uttered the phrase, all style, no substance.
Oh my.
That's possibly one of the harshest put-downs I've ever heard, and I can't argue against it.
This was an episode of, like, high praise of the handshake to devastating cuts.
I also took Paul's really nasty to a baker off the game card this week, and I should have left it on there because that would have been big.
That cut deeper than David's scoring into that bread.
Exactly. Helena, they said it looked fantastic. However, the bread was dense and very heavy. And that was because she'd put it in the pot to sort of try to make it get crusty, but what it had done instead was the moisture had stayed, so it was a really heavy bread. Henry was worried at the time that Paul was going to find the paper on the bottom of his fougasse, and then he went, oh, no, I don't think they will. And Noel's like, it's Paul. He'll find it. And sure enough, Paul turns it over, and the first thing he does is points right at the paper and go, there.
Not only that, you've got a team of producers, cameramen
everywhere,
telling him, like, there's paper on the bottom.
Now, of course that was what they were telling him. Now, Prue didn't actually think the fougasse was particularly good. She's like, it's a bit shit. But that's kind of what Fugazi is, which I thought was great.
It's like cake pops, they're dense
And then Paul's response...
and overly sweet.
And Paul's response was, Fugazi is not the bread I would have chosen to score.
Look, when you're taking your date out to a movie, is pulling out Fugazi something that means you're going to score?
Probably not. So the other bake that he had was underproved, but they said the flavour was nice. Mm-hmm. Paul thought that Steph's was highly effective. Flavouring was just right. It was very well baked. It was well proved, and she had a really good design. Priya, they said it needed a little bit more definition and more scoring, but the bread structure inside the crust once you cut it open was fantastic. Mm-hmm. Phil's, all they kept on talking about with Phil's was how light his bread was. They were like, this is amazingly light. This is brilliant. And they went, look, the scoring's okay. Mm-hmm. The design's a bit meh, but the bread's so light and so crunchy. It's really nice. They liked Michelle's. They thought it was effective. They said some of the scoring was good but needed more definition in others.
A dense hedgehog.
Prue wanted more
Stodgy
crust.
hedgehog.
Yeah, the rye was dense, which, as they said, that's rye.
Stodgy sounds like a good name for a hedgehog, though.
Stodgy the hedgehog. It does.
There's your children's book, Michelle. Stodgy the hedgehog.
Prue wanted more
friend,
crust.
The Welsh dragon.
Prue wanted more crust on the white bread one that she did. Paul disagreed and didn't want more crust. So, again, the disagreement happened. Amelia, no finesse. It was a good design, very poorly baked. Paul's looking at it going, the designer, but what's wrong with this? And he starts poking them. And she just goes, that's horrible. What have you done there? And then he goes, how long have you baked that for? 25 minutes? And she goes, yep. He goes, 40 at a minimum. So she'd halved the time. And she goes, I was worried about these might be light. I'm thinking, well, if you were worried about it, why didn't you practice a bit more and maybe work out how long you need to leave it in the oven for?
That's why she's a bit young, and I think there's some interest and there's some raw skill there. But it just doesn't come across that she's passionate about it.
No, it didn't. And the last one was Michael. They said it looked attractive. The big one that he had split. But beyond that, they said the rest of it was great, and the bake was absolutely brilliant.
And how beautiful was that concept? Just having the little round, the charcoal and
his painting looked really good.
Yeah, and it was very effective. I liked it.
Michael got Star Baker, much to his own shock. Mm-hmm. And Amelia went home, much to nobody's surprise. They threatened to send 2 people home. They didn't do it. I kind of feel like David was lucky. I know they mentioned a couple of other people. I thought that David was in deep trouble.
And they dropped the whole, are we sending 2 people home tonight? And
which they're going to hold over people's heads for weeks until they actually do it.
Yeah.
So until they actually do it, every week they're going to go, was this the week we send 2 home? So look out for that. Interesting week. It wasn't as massive a bread week as normal. There were some good challenges, though.
Yeah. I think it was a solid week.
It was a solid bread week, not an ultra-memorable one. You're not going to look back on this one in a couple of years' time and go, remember that bread week when? Not like the lion, not like the big lion statue, not like any of those.
Kiabata.
No, not Kiabata, not Alvin and his Kiabata. You're not going to look back on this one and go, that was an amazing bread week. But it's solid.
It's solid. And that's not to do with the bakers. They did a great job. It's just what it was.
The challenges were what they were. So that is our Kristiemas edition of the Washing Up podcast.
Absolutely. Before we go tonight, we'd also like to extend our sincerest condolences to Maggie Beer and her family on the sudden passing of their beautiful daughter Saskia. As we are the Bake Off family, and we don't know these people, but it's a pain that's shared. Just to lose a family member, let alone your daughter, would be devastating. So
exactly, and it's a really tough time, obviously. But we obviously send our condolences, and I know the Bake Off family out there very much sends their condolences
and
as
lots
well.
of love and strength at this time too, to get as you journey forward without that beautiful soul on this earth.
Exactly. So until next week,
Yeah.
as we go off to enjoy the delights that are Kristiemas, and tomorrow is officially Kristiemas Day.
It is.
So if you want to maybe hit up Kristie on Twitter for Kristiemas, that would probably be a really good idea. Hint, hint. So as we go off to enjoy...
I'm not starved of attention.
Exactly.
Wanting love on my birthday as I become an aged woman.
So as we leave
It's my 40th, by the way.
It
I'm
is.
40.
It's the 40th anniversary of Kristiemas. So as...
I'm a baker's 40.
So as we go off to enjoy the delights of what will probably be seafood...
After walking with sharks, hopefully.
After walking with sharks in the morning, so that'll be fascinating and that'll be fun
Australia.
times. That'll be fun times. So until then, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we'll catch you all later.
Merry Kristiemas.